Yeah, nice to meet you.
And how's it going?
Firstly, I wanted to ask, why did you decide to make this film? What did you find interesting in the story?
A DVD of this brilliant Italian film came to us. It's called Mid-August Lunch by Gianni Di Gregorio, like about maybe 6 or 7 years ago, sent by Portobello Films by Jack Sidey, the producer. And it was just this incredible, gorgeous Italian film about a middle-aged guy who's taking care of 4 elderly women over a weekend. And at the same time that we got the DVD, myself and Colin were sort of living a similar sort of experience with our own mum, who was unwell at the time. So we had been back home, and my mum's sisters and lots of family and lots of friends and stuff. So a small house full of a lot of people, a lot of stress, a lot of conflicting point of view and stuff like that. So it really resonated with us, and we thought, if we could adapt this and bring some of our own experience and our own relationship with our mum and our mum's friends and stuff like that into something that could be really rich and really funny and meaningful for us and for an audience.
So what is the art of the remake? Was it difficult to make this transition from Italian cinema to tell a story about like Irish people and Irishness and Dublin?
To be honest, we didn't sort of spend too much time thinking. We just kind of went, okay, we watched the Italian film and loved it maybe once or twice when we got it first, and then thought, okay, let's not look at it again. Let's try to just work on it based on our memory and do our own thing and not be slavish, because remakes typically are not things that people love. So I don't know that this is as much a remake as it is something that's been inspired by the original beautiful film. So really for us, at the beginning of it, one thing that was different was that in the Italian film, I think Gianni made the movie with his own mum and with his own mum's friends. So it has a very particular improvisational sort of quality to it, and we were originally going to try and do that, but then we didn't have that relationship with a bunch of older women in our lives where they would be comfortable enough to be on camera. So we decided to go in a different direction and did something that was very script based, and then cast the movie afterwards formally in the way they usually would.
Tell me more about the casting. Like, how did you try to choose and find your actors?
Well, casting is something that we were always thinking about. Myself and Colin are really good friends with Louise Kiely, the casting director. The three of us are always, we got a WhatsApp group, we're always kind of talking about actors generally anyway. Louise would have been around us a lot at the time when we were writing the script. So there's just a lot of dialogue ongoing about who could be right for such and such a character. So by the time we finish the script and we're about to start casting, there's usually a list already done, and we just start to meet people pretty much straight away. Casting is probably our favorite part of the whole process.
I'm asking about the casting because this is a film very, even practically purely related to like performance and like chemistry between the actors. And I was curious, like, are you like, do you consider yourself like the actor's director, someone who's able to give some cues and directives to make something out of those actors, to make their performance even better? Like, what are your best solutions to put them in their characters?
I really just spend time with them and try to get to know them. And one thing that I've kind of learned very early on was that every actor is different, and that they will all have a very specific set of needs and a specific approach to it. And so the more that we can hang out before we start filming and get to know one another, not just through rehearsal, but just through chatting and hanging out, the better we'll all get on when we start filming. So I try to be as malleable as I can the whole way through pre-production and production, so that I'm able to bend around and be whatever it is that they need, as opposed to coming in and trying to impose some sort of structure on how we're going to do things. And I think that's important with something like this, as you say, because it's very conversational and very sort of heightened sense of naturalism. And so there needs to be a sense of easiness on the set, a sense in which people aren't trying to perform for the camera. And often it will take some time to shoot quite a few takes to get to that point where everything feels like it's not, that no one's performing, that everyone is just having a conversation with one another. And that comes from just that they have a lot of comfort around each other and with me, and vice versa.
Did you find it challenging to link comedy with drama, those two genres, into one film?
It's never a problem on the script. It's never a problem when we're making the film. It becomes a trickier thing sometimes in the editing room. Like sometimes we'll spend a lot of time in post-production balancing those two elements in just the right way, because the comedy that we tend to be drawn to tends to be, so just absurdity. and sometimes there's a happy medium or a sweet spot between how far you can push the absurdity versus and still maintain the emotional gravitas or the weight of the emotionality in the film. That can, when you're cutting the film, that can be a little dance that you're going back and forth when it can take a bit of time. But other than that, in the scripting process and in rehearsal and filming, it's never something that really comes up. It's only then in the cutting room that you're trying to sort of mold it in the right way.
And how important was it to shoot the film in Dublin? Is it like a secondary protagonist of the film, or is it like a pretext to put the plot in this place?
Yeah, I mean, it's set in a particularly sort of a working class, small Dublin suburb that's actually sort of quite close to the Wicklow Mountains and stuff, which sort of hang over the Edward and Alma's house and stuff like that throughout the story. So yeah, I mean, it's not a Dublin story per se. It's much more of a small town kind of story where there's a sense of community between all the young gay men or the middle-aged gay men in it, and also to a certain degree between the women. Not at the start, but as the story evolves, that becomes a thing. So you wanted that community to feel relevant, but it wasn't. We've done other things where the community was much more at the forefront of the storytelling than maybe in this.
And why did you find the story so alluring? I mean, does it recall some personal experiences? Like, was the story close to your own heart?
Yeah, at the time that we got the DVD from the producers of the original film, we were kind of living something similar with our own mum, and just before we started writing the film, we lost her, and so I just felt like we really needed to talk about her at that time. Like, we were grieving, and we were writing a bunch of other scripts, but we couldn't really nothing could click with anything else, and so we just poured ourselves into this and wrote it really quickly, and it became a way to celebrate her and acknowledge her, and in a way it was her passing was painful for us, and it was a long process where we all struggled and stuff like that, and this became a way to sort of not eradicate, but then sort of contextualize the pain that we were feeling and sort of put it to rest in some way, and to be able to look back at her life and at our time with her, and in terms of comedy and humor and all the good stuff, rather than carrying a lot of the pain that we probably were carrying at that time.
When you were watching your film for the first time, did you feel your mother's presence somehow?
Well, the weird thing is that we haven't. Tonight is going to be the first time that I've seen this in like a year now, because we finished it a year ago, and we haven't had, just through a whole bunch of different circumstances, we've not had a proper screening with an audience. So that's all about to happen. So come back to me like in 90 minutes, and I'll know if that. Hopefully, I will have that experience. But yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers.